This week on the show, we're looking at a big win for Netflix. A new mommy arrives. The OG ring bearer. Whether Mortal Kombat is a flawless victory or a fatality. Rocky gets KO'd. A truly magical new show. And more right here on the JARcast Movie Podcast. Welcome to episode 13 of the JARcast Movie Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. I got some really interesting stories to talk about this week. One in particular that I am really looking forward to talking to you guys about. So without any further ado, let's jump right in with our first story, which is Mortal Kombat already failing before it even launches here in the US, or is it just off to a great start? Warner Brothers' Mortal Kombat launched this past weekend with a confirmed $10.7 million from 17 Middle East and Asian markets, a total that was significantly driven by 6.1 million chart-topping haul in Russia. It marks the biggest opening for a Hollywood title in Russia during the pandemic era. The video game spinoff was likewise top of the box office charts in its other strongest territories, which were led by the United Arab countries, Saudi Arabia, $704,000, $721,000 overall, Thailand $562,000, and Taiwan $524,000. The film franchise was launched in 1995 with Paul W.S. Anderson's Mortal Kombat grossing $122 million worldwide. Sequel Mortal Kombat Annihilation, fucking god-awful movie by the way, directed by John Leonetti, grossed a disappointing $51.4 million worldwide in 1997. Simon McQuaid, I think it's McQuaid, makes his feature directing debut with the new film with Aquaman and Saw director James Wan among the producers. Mortal Kombat opens in a further 12 markets this weekend, including Mexico and Spain, and the US on the 23rd, which is the following week. So, yeah, some people are saying that this is like a weak start, that Mortal Kombat's in trouble. It only made $10.7 million. Yes, that's true. It did only make $10.7 million. And for most movies, we'd say, wow, that's not really a lot for a movie that probably costs upwards of $50 million. Give or take. We don't know exactly how much as of yet, but $10.7 million is not a lot. However, it only released in 17 territories. And those territories were none of them were the biggest territories for any movies, especially when it comes to theaters. This is not taking into account HBO Max stuff, because as far as I know, HBO Max is not available in these territories. We're talking about Russia. We're talking about the Middle East. These are not hotspots for movie box office receipts. Russia, apparently this is the biggest opening it's had during the entire pandemic, including Kong versus Godzilla, apparently, or Godzilla versus Kong, assuming that went there. So, yes, it doesn't seem like a lot of money because we're used to seeing so much more, and we probably will when it releases, once again, this week in 12 more markets, including Mexico and Spain, which I'm sure it'll do a bit better there, but especially when it releases in the U.S. on the 23rd. Now, I assume, I don't know, like the European market as far as like, or the UK rather, Britain and whatnot, I am assuming it's going to release around the same time there. I don't know when it's coming out there, maybe the 23rd. But once this thing hits the US, I'm sure it's going to blow up and it's going to get much more than $10.7 million. Whether it's going to dethrone Godzilla vs. Kong and its just stellar performance at the box office, I don't know. I mean, also, it is a rated R movie. Godzilla vs. Kong was a PG-13 movie. That does limit some of its ticket sales right there. But, I mean, it could do very well. I do think that this movie is going to make its money back. It was significantly lower cost to make than something like Godzilla vs. Kong. But, no, this is great. It's doing very well for right now for just being in these very small territories. I don't know why it came out in these territories first. And on a side note, also, apparently in some of these territories, not all, it is a heavily edited version of the film in some of the Asian markets. Oddly enough, not all of them, but some of these, or Middle Eastern Asian, or the Asian markets, yeah, I'm sorry, some of them don't allow nearly as much violence as this movie is giving out, which is kind of odd. I don't know specifically which ones. I was reading about it, and it's been really cut down, and people have been kind of bashing the movie for that. But I think that these people understand they're not bashing the movie so much, they're bashing the fact that they got this edited down, like, milquetoast version of Mortal Kombat. And I can get that. I mean, you go into Mortal Kombat expecting to see, some Mortal Kombat, and that's not what you're getting. The movie is supposed to be really violent, and that's not what people are getting to see in some of these territories. Apparently in Russia, I'm assuming they got the unedited regular version. I don't think violence in film is that big of a deal there. I'm not really sure. I mean, I've seen some violent films from Russia and the Middle East or the Eastern European market, so I wouldn't think that it would be edited there. If I remember correctly, it was mostly some of the more Asian markets that were the smaller Asian markets that were editing the film. So it's got that going against it. And from what I'm seeing, as far as like money that other films bring in these territories, Mortal Kombat is doing just fine. It's doing very well. As they said, it's the highest performing film in the pandemic era in Russia. I mean, that's something right there. So yeah, I think Mortal Kombat is going to be fine. You've seen some big headlines, and they're just that. They're trying to get clicks saying, "Oh, Mortal Kombat's it's failing. It's not going to make it." Come on now. How do you say that when it has not released in one single one of the major like film markets as of yet? It's not out in China yet. It's not out here in the U.S. It's not out in the U.K. I think Australia is a big one too. I mean, it may be out in Australia. I think maybe it's New Zealand. I'm not really sure. But it hasn't released in the largest markets as of yet. We're going to start seeing that this week and especially next week when, unfortunately, it did get pushed back. We were supposed to get it here in the States this coming week on the 16th when everybody else is getting it in some of these other countries, Mexico and whatnot. But instead it got pushed a week out further to give Kong and Godzilla a little bit more breathing room, according to them. So it's just 1 week, though, not a big deal. I'm looking forward to it, though. I'm definitely going to check this out. I'm going to try and go see it in theaters. Depends on the logistics of all that, and if I can make it there and still have enough time to do my review, I may end up having to just watch it at home. This is one I would really like to see in theaters. So I'm hearing good things about it from everyone who's seen a regular version of it. I haven't heard a take from anyone who's seen the edited version that I'm aware of, but everything I've heard about it is, at worst, pretty good. It's very enjoyable. It's awesome. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the film's going to do well. I think it's had a lot of good hype. I think people are saying good things about it. There was that little thing about Johnny Cage and why they did or did not put him in there, and there was, depending on how you look at that, it was, misunderstood or wasn't. I don't know. I'm just going to go into this movie judging the movie itself, what is laid in front of me, not what could have been, what should have been, what would have been, but what I get. And I will find out in about a week and a half what I think of Mortal Kombat. But as far as what I think about what Mortal Kombat is going to do financially, I think it is going to be A-okay. I think that this movie is probably, if I had to guess, it's definitely, in my opinion, going to outperform Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which only made $51.4 million. I think it definitely has a really good shot at outperforming the original 95 Paul W.S. Anderson Mortal Kombat, which many still proclaim is the, if not one of, if not the best video game movies ever made. It made $122 million worldwide. I definitely think this movie could outperform that when we have Godzilla now getting close to $400 million after a few weeks. Yeah, sure. I mean, this is going to be one of the only big movies in theaters. I think it could do it. It could. People have shown that, hey, for the right movie, we're ready to get out there. We want to get out of the house and go do something. So maybe Mortal Kombat is what they're going to do. There's a lot of nostalgia, and generations now have been around for Mortal Kombat, have grown up with Mortal Kombat. So I think that there's a lot of recognition there. People are going to want to go see it. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully a lot more people are. But at the end of the day, as far as this story goes, no, Mortal Kombat is not in trouble. It's going to be just fine. And we're going to find out let's revisit this, if you will, in about 3 weeks after it's out pretty much everywhere, if not everywhere. Once again, I don't know when every single territory is getting it, but the vast majority of territories will have it around the end of the month, the 23rd to the end of the month. Let's revisit it then and see where we stand and see if Mortal Kombat is a fatality or a flawless victory. Now, backflipping right off of Mortal Kombat, we're going to jump into a little bit of comic book news. Not just comic book, it's actually a lot more than that, but the people are really focusing on some of the comic book movie news or portion of this news, and that is some of the biggest properties that are involved here. And I'm talking about Netflix and Sony and how they hooked up the other night, and they kind of like each other, and I think they're going to spend more time together. As it is reported according to THR, Sony and Netflix have struck a massive licensing agreement that will span multiple years and will see the streaming service gain exclusive access to the streaming rights for Sony's 2022 lineup of films, including Uncharted, the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2. In addition, the deal will allow Netflix the opportunity to license anything from Sony's library, including those classics from Columbia Pictures. And finally, and perhaps even more substantial, is the agreement that Netflix and Sony will co-finance a slew of new projects that will be made specifically for the streaming platform. At Sony Pictures, we produce some of the biggest blockbusters and the most creative original films in the industry, said Seth Legoy, Sony's president of worldwide distribution. This exciting agreement further demonstrates the importance of that content to our distribution partners as they grow their audiences and deliver the very best in entertainment. Netflix's Scott Stuber added, "This not only allows us to bring their impressive slate of beloved films, franchises, and new IP to Netflix in the US, but it also establishes a new source of first-run films for Netflix movie lovers worldwide. It's important to note the date when the theatrical release films will fall under this deal. Since the deal doesn't affect those films until 2022, this means sequels such as Spider-Man No Way Home and Venom, Let There Be Carnage, are exempt from this deal. However, future sequels in those franchises will be included." Okay, so this is kind of a big deal, and it doesn't seem like it on the surface to some people, but let's be real. Sony as a whole, as a studio, owns a lot of big properties. They have a lot of Marvel properties. They are the other Marvel studio. They have Spider-Man, for instance. And, of course, they have, like, the Uncharted movie that's coming out. But Columbia Pictures, they're huge. That's one of their film arms right there. Sony has a whole lot of movies and legacy behind it. So this is a big deal that these movies will only be found on Netflix, especially the one that's really the kicker, the one that really just like sticks the knife in and twists, is all the Marvel properties such as Venom and Morbius, which is coming, assuming it's good, with Jared Leto. Anything Spider-Man, just like fucking anything Spider-Man, no longer going to be on Disney Plus. Well, at some point at least. Disney Plus is not going to have that, and one of these iterations, at least, of Spider-Man, the Home series, the Far From Home, Long Way Home, all Home Again, all that, Homeward Bound, whatever the fuck they are, those are all going to be not on Disney Plus. So Disney is not going to be able to say, "Hey, get the entire MCU only on Disney Plus," because they won't have the entire MCU. They're going to be missing the Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man. Now, it's kind of unclear whether Spider-Man, after this new Spider-Man MCU movie, is going to continue on in the MCU. That's really been up in the air since that whole thing that went down with Sony and Disney a year or two ago. And they struck a deal to at least finish out this arc, or finish out this next movie here. So we know that this one will be. After that, I really don't know how many more Tom Holland Spider-Man, MCU Spider-Man movies there will be. They may continue that outside of Marvel, or not Marvel, but Disney, or they might still be in there. I don't really know. Last I looked, it was up in the air. So, but either way, these movies will not be on Disney Plus. And the neat thing about it is this article does say that, Spider-Man No Way Home, that's the newest one, and Venom Let There Be Carnage are exempt from the deal because they come out this year. If they come out this year. Because let's be real, 2020 and 2021, which we are currently in, has been like the year of the fucking delay because everything keeps getting pushed out. Both of these movies are already pretty damn close to the end of the year. Would it take a whole lot? I mean, it doesn't sound like Sony and Disney have the best relationship in the world. I don't think there's a huge love loss between Sony and Disney. So all it would take was Netflix coming up saying, hey, Sony, why don't you just push that Spider-Man movie out just a few weeks? Just I think it's in September, November, somewhere. It's in the third quarter of the year. I mean, or the fourth quarter of the year. Is it really going to be that hard for them to say, could you push it out just a little bit further? I mean, we've been pushing shit out all year. You can throw out whatever reason you want. Push it out a little further. Go ahead and do Venom 2, because I think that one's September as well. October, September, November, something like that. Push them out a little bit until they get to 2022, and then they've got them. So then if you want to see the new Spider-Man, the new Venom, those are the only two it mentioned, you'll have to go to Netflix. You can't go to Disney+. That's a big loss. Spider-Man is a huge character. He brings in a lot of people. When they brought him into the MCU, it was like insane. People lost their fucking minds over it. So yeah, Spider-Man's got a lot of pull. I would go as far as to say Spider-Man has more pull than a lot of the other MCU characters that we have right now. Yeah, sure, Iron Man's big, Thor, all of them, Captain America, all of them, but those are kind of legacy characters now. They're not there anymore. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to have a new Iron character, man or woman or whatever, I don't know, and a new Thor. Apparently there's going to be somebody else, and all that. That's great. Guardians of the Galaxy, they're all really popular characters, but Spider-Man, that's like creme de la creme. That's the top tier. Spider-Man is the guy. That's why they struck a deal. Disney struck this unprecedented deal with Sony to bring him over and still let them have him, and that whole mess that went on there a couple of years ago. So yeah, if they're able to work it out to where Disney Plus doesn't get this movie or these movies, this one in particular, I would bet money that they're going to push the new Spider-Man out, if at all possible, unless there's some type of contract that Disney or Marvel has put into play saying, no, it has to come out in 2022, which after a deal like this, I would be surprised if they weren't trying to formulate something like that. But if Sony was smart and Netflix was smart, they would try and swoop in as quickly as possible and say, hey, just push that one out a little bit further so we can get our hands on it. So who knows where those movies are going to land. But even beyond those movies, Spider-Man's not the only thing that they get in this deal. No. They're getting the whole original content thing. That opens up a whole lot of places. Who's to say we won't get a Spider-Man show? Who's to say we won't get a Disney Plus-esque, MCU show, but for Spider-Man? Could you imagine a Netflix show that had Tom Holland's Spider-Man with that, that budget of pretty much like the Disney Plus shows, except on Netflix with fucking Spider-Man? A Spider-Man TV show based in that universe, or as much as they could make it, just with Spider-Man and Tom Holland. That would fucking kill it. That would be gangbusters. I'm not even the biggest MCU Spider-Man fan. I think they're fine. I don't think they're amazing, but I will admit, if you release a fucking Spider-Man show that's based on that particular character, that iteration of the character on Netflix, that will bring you subscribers. The only place you can watch it is Netflix. People will resubscribe, because pretty much everybody has subscribed or is subscribed to Netflix at one point in time. That will bring people into your service. So who knows what other, interesting projects or whatever they said is they're going to be bringing in from the Sony stables, but I would totally jump on that Spider-Man bandwagon if they want to maximize this deal. Also, it does say 2022, but if you read the story a bit more and some further into it, 2022 is not the only year. It's actually beyond 2022. It's unspecified at this time how long this deal will go. We know that it is at least 2022, but you best believe it's more than 2022. You're not going to be seeing Sony films, unless there's previous contracts for now, of course. At some point, you're not going to be seeing Sony-produced films on other streaming platforms. You're going to be seeing them on Netflix. And it makes sense because Sony was the last holdout. Everybody else has a fucking streaming platform except Sony. I think they got Crackle or something like that. I think that's one we kind of discount. It's not really much going on there, and it's kind of been left to flounder, but they're the last major studio to at least partner with a streaming service, and now they've done it. So here we go. Netflix is fighting back. They said, you know what, we're the big dog, and we're not just going down without a fight. We're coming out swinging. So I mean, they did Daredevil, they did the Defenders and all that. I don't put it above them or below them, whatever, to do a Spider-Man show. Fucking hell yeah, do it. Plus, let's not discount everything else that Sony owns. They own a lot of properties, and there's a lot of interesting things that we could get there. Plus, a lot of really good movies from the past that will be showing up on Netflix that only Netflix subscribers will be able to get once previous contracts run out, of course. And it's just like when Disney Plus started. You can still see some MCU movies on Netflix and stuff because they had contracts in place. But beyond that, you know what I mean? That's going to be the place, the premier place to get all of these types of shows. Doesn't seem like a big deal to some right out the gate, but yes, this is a really big fucking deal because Sony makes a lot of big, or they own a lot of big properties, and this is a really huge win for Netflix. So if you're a fan of Netflix, which I know a lot of people like to hate on Netflix, and I think a lot of times it's because they're number one. I mean, if you look at the other streaming services, is anybody really doing it any better? I mean, you've got some that, depending on who you are, you could argue they're doing it as good, I guess. But is anybody really doing it any better than Netflix? No. I mean, everybody's kind of Netflix is at the top. There may be, depending on who you are, some other streaming platform or platforms that are right there with Netflix. Me myself personally, I don't think so. But nobody's really surpassing them. I mean, let's take all biases out of what we think. I mean, I don't care much for Disney, but I'm going to admit that they're doing decent with their service. I don't think their service is that great. I think it's a little bit too focused. It doesn't have the broad appeal that some of the other services do, but that's just me personally. But I can see the value in it if you're really into what they got. I mean, yeah, it'll put it up there, but I don't think they're doing better than Netflix. I think at best they're right there with them. So, hate on Netflix all you want. They're number one for a reason. They do what they do, and they do it well. So if you are a fan of Netflix, hey, you got a whole bunch of new IP, or not new IP, but IP is coming your way. And if you're a fan of Sony, well, hey, you got one place, one-stop shop that you'll be able to go here starting in 2022 onward to whenever. Who knows? I think it's a good thing overall for Netflix, but we'll see how it goes. Now, speaking of iconic properties that are only in one place that you can get them, something recently that's really interesting has surfaced that has not been seen for literally decades. And really, it's extremely rare and only been seen once by most people. It would appear that suddenly here recently, a rare Soviet Lord of the Rings film has resurfaced, and it's only on YouTube. As first reported by The Guardian, a Soviet Union-era television adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's beloved works was recently rediscovered and uploaded to stream for free on YouTube. The Russian-language 1991 made-for-TV movie is titled, I'm going to butcher the fuck out of this, Carentally, I don't know. What I just said. Lord of the Rings in Russian, I assume. And is based on the first novel in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring. Posted to YouTube in two parts, the streams have earned a combined 800,000 views and counting in 1 week. The Guardian claims the video is the only adaptation of the Lord of the Rings trilogy believed to have been made in the Soviet Union. Lord of the Rings aired on television in 1991, only once before it disappeared. The film's score was composed by Andrei Romanoff of the rock band Akvarium. For the last 30 years, the movie has remained lost in the Leningrad television vault, and it was not found until 5TV, the successor to Leningrad Television, uploaded it to YouTube for free. According to Russia's Tolkien website World of Fantasy, Lord of the Rings fans have been searching the archives but had not been able to find this film for decades. As The Guardian notes, the Soviet version includes some plot elements left out of Peter Jackson's $93 million blockbuster. Really, 93? It only cost $93 million to make that first movie? Holy shit. Looks really good for that. Anyway, including an appearance by the character Tom Bombadil. That was a really good exclusion there, Peter Jackson. I'm just saying. That's coming from a lover of the books and the movies, but I was a lover of the books long before the movies, and the exclusion of Tom Bombadil was not. That was a good move. Anyway, a forest dweller cut from the English language version because he was too long-winded and failed to move the plot forward. I agree. Yes, he was too long-winded. He had absolutely nothing to do with anything. He didn't really move anything forward. It's just a lot of singing, and it was kind of a screeching to a halt, hit the brakes moment in the first book. But that's just my take. I'm sure I know they're for a fact because I've had discussions with them. There are people that love good old Tom. But that's not all we're talking about here. We're talking about another version of Lord of the Rings, my favorite film of the ever made. The whole thing, all three. I consider all three one big ass long movie, and I love that movie. I love that series. I love the books since I was a child. So to hear about another version of it, sure, I was aware of the animated version that came out in the 70s, or was it 60s or 70s, and I've seen those. Yeah, they exist, but I was interested to see this. You know, I've watched and reviewed quite a few Russian films on my channel, so I was interested in seeing this. Unfortunately, as of right now, there are no subtitles, no dub, or no way for me to understand this film because I do not speak Russian. So watching it was a bit odd. I watched a few minutes of it and I turned it off because I said, eventually there will be some subtitles or something so I can understand this. While I do know the story and I was aware of, hey, that's this character, that's that one, this is what's going on, I'd really like to understand what it is they're saying. Yeah, this thing was a trip. It's a 1991 Russian TV film of Lord of the Rings. Whatever springs to mind when you say it, when you think of that, when you hear that, it's about that, but maybe even a little bit more out there. Look at this picture. Look at this picture you're seeing here up on screen, right here. I mean, that's not like superimposed. That is a image from the film. The human characters are apparently fucking giants, and the hobbits truly are like really little people. But I didn't watch the whole thing, of course, because I did say I wanted to wait until there was a version I could understand. But this is really interesting, and it's a neat little piece of history, because if you know anything about the Soviet Union, they were very big into censoring what their people could, what media they took in, and that goes, of course, to film and television. Internet wasn't an issue back then, but that went to books even. And the book, The Lord of the Rings, or the books, weren't published, I think, until like the early 80s. I could be a little off there, but I don't think that they were officially published over there in an edited form, I believe, until like 1982. And that was just the first one. I think the later books were even later on. I mean, people were aware of it, and I'm sure they had some bootleg books, which is kind of funny to think of, but there were bootleg books and things like that. But people weren't able to experience this wonderful world, legally at least, until the mid-'80s, and it was edited at that point. So, when this movie came out, it really wasn't that old compared to, it wasn't like, oh, this is based on a book that we read, decades ago. No, this is just, 6-7 years ago or whatever, whenever they started to make this thing. But this is just kind of a funny kind of story. It's really out there and odd. When I saw this, I was like, what, a Russian Lord of the, or Soviet Lord of the Rings? What the fuck? It's out there, man. It's crazy. I really want to see the whole thing so I can take it all in. I would, if there's any viewers out there, if a subtitled version, or a version where I can understand what it is they're saying, if there are any viewers out there that know, speak Russian and can give me a transcript of this thing, I would be willing, because those of you that follow my channel know that I'm by no means a voice actor, but on my streams and stuff, I do like to do voices and things when reading text and all that, and I enjoy doing these things. I would absolutely myself, 100%, and I would edit it and cut it together, because this is a a public domain thing here, I would absolutely edit my own dub for this. If I knew what the fuck they were saying and I could actually, I had a translation of what they were saying when they were saying it, I would myself totally do every single voice in this thing and do a full-on dub for this. I swear to God I would do it if I could get a translation of it. I would do it with this microphone on this computer and edit the whole thing together. I would be thrilled to do that and put it out there for the world, for the English-speaking world, to be able to experience this just something, whatever it is. I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece. It might be, who knows? Look up the picture of Gollum, by the way. I don't have it here, but just to kind of get you an idea of the parity of quality between this version and the 2001 Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, it's it's a Soviet 1991 TV movie. Okay, it is what it is. I think it'd be great. I would love to do that. I really want to see this thing, or not just see it. I want to understand it. I want to watch this and understand what's going on in it. So I'm really hoping we get some subtitles soon. It's definitely worth checking out just to kind of see. Even if you don't watch the whole thing, just a few minutes of it, especially for Tolkien lovers, just to kind of see a totally different take on it. It's some good fun, and it's some pretty good. I'm sure we're going to be getting some really interesting clips from this thing with some interesting dubs, if you will, and maybe even some memes, because there's some really out there looking stuff in it. I mean, just look at this picture here, and that's pretty tame. I mean, this thing it's really out there, but absolutely worth checking out. Just a fun little story. I really just wanted to talk about it and put it out there that if anybody speaks Russian and you can translate this thing for me, send me a transcript with some time codes or something so I can line it all up. I will abso-fucking-lutely record a dub for this thing. I swear I will, and I'll put it out there for the world to enjoy. But yeah, that's coming from a Lord of the Rings lover. I will consume anything Lord of the Rings because I love the Lord of the Rings. And it seems like even though this thing was pretty, is a different take, I do think that there was a passion here in making it. Whether they were successful or not, well, we'll see, but I think that there was a passion here, so seeing as how they weren't just trying to like milk it for something and they were actually passionate about telling the story, I can get on board with it. I'm cool with it. So, yeah, Lord of the Rings, Soviet edition. It's on YouTube right now. Just search Soviet Lord of the Rings. It'll pop up. You'll know it when you see it. So, absolutely worth it. Somebody get me that transcript, though, and I will abso-fucking-lutely do that. Check it out. Now, from one iconic franchise to another, and hopefully it will continue to be after this entry, we're going to jump into some recently announced Indiana Jones 5 news. Yes, there is an Indiana Jones that is officially happening, if you didn't know for sure. It's actually getting off the ground now. They're casting it. They're actually putting some things in stone and saying this movie is coming. It's got a release date even, and we're going to go over that. But there's just a few little details we got here. Some of it is telling, and some other people think is more telling than I do. But let's just read through it real quick and see what our thoughts are. Disney and Lucasfilm have announced that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is joining the Indiana Jones 5 cast as the female lead. This isn't Waller-Bridge's first time working with Disney Lucasfilm. She also had a role in Solo, a Star Wars story. Plot details about Indiana Jones 5 aren't available just yet, and we don't know anything about Waller-Bridge's character. In addition to this casting news, we also know that John Williams will be back to compose the film's score. Of course, while Williams will be back, Steven Spielberg will not. Spielberg was intending to return to helm, but after several delays, the filmmaker handed directorial duties over to Logan director James Mangold. Spielberg will still serve as producer on the project. I'm thrilled to be starting a new adventure collaborating with a dream team of all-time great filmmakers, said Mangold. Stephen, Harrison, Kathy, Frank, and John are all artistic heroes of mine. When you add Phoebe and a dazzling actor, brilliant creative voice, and the chemistry she will undoubtedly bring to our set, I can't help but feel lucky as Indiana Jones himself. They hope to start filming this summer, and Indiana Jones 5 is set to open July 29th, 2022. So a little over a year now, about a year and a half-ish, a little under a year and a half. It's crazy to think that we're going to have that. They haven't even started filming this movie yet. And we're going to have an Indiana Jones 5 in the summer, next summer, not this coming summer, but the summer after that. A bit over a year. That's kind of crazy. But anyway, yeah, it's happening. We've been hearing about Indy 5 for quite a while. Was Harrison Ford going to be in it? Was he not? Apparently, yes, he is going to be in it for sure. We're getting a lot of, there's some good stuff to take from this. And there's some stuff that, I'm not going to say it's bad, but it makes you take pause. Some of the good right off the bat, John Williams, he's back, John Williams' score is the Indiana Jones score and John Williams' treatment of the score is just as iconic as the character himself. I mean, John Williams, regardless if you love him or not, you can't deny he's made some of the most iconic scores out there, and the guy knows what he's doing. So him coming back, and he has before actually. I'm not going to name any names, but he has not done projects because he didn't think that they were worthy before, because he said, no, that doesn't need to happen. So he doesn't just take whatever. I mean, there's been projects he's not been involved in because he didn't think it was going to be good. So that means that he's at least put his seal of approval on whatever they've shown him. This young lady, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I know who she is. She was the love interest in Solo: A Star Wars Story. I didn't hate her in that. I mean, I didn't hate that movie. I didn't love it either, but I thought she was fine. I'm not familiar with her from other things. I know she's actually written some stuff. I don't have it listed here, but she's done quite a bit in the industry. Now, as far as her, I have heard some talk. I didn't dive deep into it, and I didn't read in it about it. But apparently, I don't know if she's been involved in some other stuff or something, and some people aren't happy about her casting in this film. They think that she's going to be like, taking over Indy's role or some. I mean, Harrison Ford's there, so obviously not. But like the movie's going to be focusing more on her, or they're putting her in there to kind of like cuckold him or something. I don't know, but whatever it is, there's some people that aren't happy about her coming in. I don't know any of that stuff. I mean, if I was privy to that information, maybe I'd say, oh, no, I'm not so sure about her. But as it stands right here and what I have seen her in, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, from what I saw in Solo: A Star Wars Story, she seemed to do fine. I think she'll be okay with it. I guess that's all really up to the story as to how they'll inject her into the story. Now, James Mangold is the director. He did really well with Logan, but I mean, that was Logan. This is Indiana Jones. Two different things, two different beasts, two different movies. We've seen plenty of great directors, make this movie really great and go on to this one over here and just totally screw the pooch. Will he do that? I don't know. He seems like a talented director. He did really well with Logan. So, I mean, he's shown us so far. I think he's earned that from us. He's earned that goodwill, at least from making such a great film in Logan. I'm not sure. I know his name. He's made some other things. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But the kind of double-edged sword there with Mangold coming on is that Spielberg will not be coming back. And this will be the first Indiana Jones movie that Steven Spielberg didn't direct. And, Mangold may be a great director, but he ain't Steven Spielberg. I mean, not that Spielberg has had his ups and downs as well. He's had a whole lot more ups than downs. But, I mean, Steven Spielberg being attached in the director's chair, well, yes, he was attached to the bad Indiana Jones movies as well as the good one, or bad one as much as the good ones. He does bring a certain confidence to the story, to the film, that, okay, Steven Spielberg's come back. The fact that he's not here, I'm hoping it is just kind of a conflict thing. Like, hey, we waited, delayed. I have these other commitments. I just can't do it if we're moving forward at this time. If that's the case, I'm like, okay, cool. I get that. I understand that. It's a business. You've already made these other commitments. They pushed it out, so you got to go with your other commitments. But if he just decided over time, I'm not feeling this, I don't want to do it, that gives me pause, because I'm like, he's always been the guy who's made this. So him leaving, I don't hate it. I don't think it's going to tank because Steven Spielberg's not going to be there, but it makes me, take a bit of pause. It makes me kind of say, well, why? Why is Steven Spielberg not coming back for this one? That's the one thing I would, the one slight concern I have. But who knows? Maybe Mangold do a great job here. As far as Waller-Bridge, I don't know. I don't know any of the, crap that she's got going on or reasoning people have against her. So just what I do know, she'll be fine. John Williams is coming back. That's great. Spielberg will still be on in a producer role. So, I mean, that's something. He seems like a very hands-on producer. So that's saying something. I mean, he'll be there to kind of like guide the ship a bit. He doesn't seem like he's just the kind of guy who throws money at it and says, hey, just put my name on it, I'm out. No, he seems like somebody who's like, I'm putting my name on this bitch. We're going to get it right. So even when they don't, but, he's putting his name on it. That's a good thing. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else here. We don't have a lot much more going on except we got a release date, July 29th. I mean, sure. Am I excited about an Indiana Jones 5? Honestly, right now, no. I mean, not seeing it, I love Indiana Jones. I like all four of them. Hang on, even the Crystal Skull. I don't think the Crystal Skull is as bad as a lot of people give it. I think the Crystal Skull has some really bad moments, but I think the majority of the film is fine. It doesn't stand up to the original three. I mean, they were really great films, and there were some issues there. Compared to those, yeah, it's not great. But just compared to a little adventure movie, it was fine. It's okay. It's got some things in it, the whole thing with the monkeys and all that. Yeah, how many times are we going to go through that? Okay, that part sucked. It was shit. A lot of the stuff with Shia LaBeouf is what it is. The guy is really hit or miss in his movies. But overall, the movie was what it was. It was fine. I wasn't terribly offended by it. I'm just curious, what direction is this movie going to go? When's it going to take place? Are we going to get back to old serial kind of Indiana Jones from the first three films? Or is this going to be kind of like a passing of the mantle or passing of the torch, whatever they say, kind of situation? What is this movie going to entail? So nobody knows at this point except for the people involved. So I can't really say if I'm excited or not until I know a bit more, especially once I see the first trailer. When I see the first trailer, I feel like I'll be able to decipher a bit more and say whether I'm excited or not. But as it stands right now, nothing against Indiana Jones. I'm just kind of, okay. I'm playing wait and see for now. When we get closer to time, maybe I'll start hearing some great things and just say, hell yeah, I'm super hyped about it. But for now, I'm just kind of like, okay, new indie's coming. I'll see it, but I'm not like counting the days down or anything. But if you are a huge Indiana Jones fan, what do you think of this? Do you think that they need to leave it alone and this is just sacrilege and they're just going to do another Kingdom of the Crystal Skull or something like that and just shit all over the property? Who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't, maybe they'll bring it back and it'll be awesome. What do you think about Mangold taking over? I mean, if Spielberg's not doing it, I mean, I think Mangold might be a good choice. But we'll find out, I guess, in a little under a year and a half on July 29th, 2022. Now, while it may not be a sequel, we are getting a continuation, or really just a retelling, of a popular film from a few years back. And of course, what I mean is a remake of a popular film, a popular horror film, or at least it was popular. I thought it was. I heard a lot about it. I saw it. I thought it was pretty entertaining. But we're getting an American, or English language rather, remake of Goodnight Mommy. And apparently the Goodnight Mommy remake production has found its mommy in one Naomi Watts. Variety is reporting the news that the Goodnight Mommy remake will star Naomi Watts. The original film released in 2014 and generated a lot of buzz, particularly in the horror community. The story follows twin brothers who, when sent to stay with their mother, are surprised to find her swathed. She's covered in bandages from a recent procedure. As her behavior grows increasingly erratic and unusual, the twins become convinced she is an imposter. Their suspicion sets off a roller coaster of emotional mind games and misunderstandings between mother and her children that eventually explodes with irreparable and heartbreaking consequences. Wow, they are really starting the line of giving some shit away there, okay? Because this movie definitely does have a twist, and it has lots of twists and turns and things that pop up, and I feel like they're getting really close to giving shit away. because going into this film, not saying it couldn't be good. I know the original, if you already know what's going on, it's still good, but it will definitely lose something if you know the thing. So if you are interested in seeing this remake, by the way, I do wonder if they'll change that around a bit because I know a lot of people have seen it. But anyway, let's move on with the story. Goodnight Mommy will be directed by Matt Sobel and written by Kyle Warren for Amazon Studios. My favorite films are those that invite the audience to step inside the protagonist's journey. In our reimagining of Goodnight Mommy, fear and abandonment and the dreadful realization that those close to us may not be who they seem create an immersive nightmare with visceral sensations front and center. I can't wait to create this heart-stopping story with Amazon and the peerless Naomi Watts, said director Sobel. So yeah, I didn't learn a whole lot more from that paragraph, but I do wonder if they're going to change the thing that happens in this movie, because if you already know that, it does, as I mentioned a moment ago, it robs it of a little something. It robs it of some of its tension, and I would strongly recommend going into this movie totally blind. If you're going to watch the original, go into it totally blind. It's absolutely worth it. It's Austrian, I believe it is, and there's not a lot of dialogue in it. There's just not a whole lot of dialogue. It's a very visual film, so it's not like you're going to spend the whole time just reading subtitles. It's very visual. It's really creepy, and I enjoyed it. I thought the ending, I kind of sort of was thinking that something along the lines of what happened may have been going on by the time we got there, but I wasn't 100% sure. It never fully gives it away until, it finally does there at the end. But I was kind of thinking, it might be this. Is that what's going on? I'm not really sure. So, I mean, it's not like a total holy shit moment. It may be for some, but I kind of picked up on that a little bit. But it was very impactful not knowing it for most of the film. You go into the beginning of this movie knowing what happens in the end, and I think it could ruin it. So I do wonder, because that was kind of like this movie's thing. Everybody kind of heard, or a lot of people that looked into this movie heard about the thing, and I do wonder if they're going to change that up for this remake, because going in with that same twist, or those same twists, I just feel like you're risking a lot of people already being ruined by it, having already seen it or heard about it. I do wonder if they're gonna, which could be a good thing or bad thing, they're gonna try and put their own twist on it, and it could come out even more creative, more interesting, or they could just totally screw the pooch and fuck it up. Either way, I don't know. I'll be interested in seeing this because I did really enjoy the original, but I do think Naomi Watts really fit. I could see her in this role. The lady walks around for the vast majority of the movie with bandages all over her face, so it is a very expressive role. You'll have to act her ass off to get across, what this character is feeling, especially in the movie that is so visual and not as dialogue driven. And I think Watts has that. She could do it. And let's not forget, she's done the remake circuit before. She was in one of the best Japanese horror English language remakes ever made, if not the best, and that would be The Ring. The first one, not the second. The second one was terrible, but the first Ring by Gore Verbinski was absolutely amazing. That was a wonderful film, and in my opinion, better than the original Ringu. Nothing against that film, but I just thought that Verbinski's version was more coherent and just a bit more solid of a film, and definitely creepier. So, this movie it's not quite as creepy as something like The Ring, but it does have that kind of uneasy, creepy vibe going on throughout it. If you haven't seen the original, I recommend checking it out. It's absolutely worth it, and I think that Watts would do well in this character role. I think it would really fit her. I don't want to say too much about that character as to why I think it would fit her, but I think if you see the film, you would probably agree that, yeah, I could see her in that role for sure. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this. Because the movie is just, I'm afraid that it's going to be ruined for a lot of people, and I think that they definitely see that. That means that they're going to try and switch it up, and when they do that, they could really, because the thing that happens in the end is so integral to to the plot that it's a lot of the meaning of the film. So it's kind of like, if you change that too much, is it no longer the same film, you know? So I don't know, but I guess we'll find out here whenever this thing comes out. It doesn't have a release date as of yet, but a smaller movie like this will be a smaller movie. Like, as far as the vast majority of it, if I remember correctly, at least in the original, took place in one house. It's a single location. I think some outside the house and the wooded area around it. It wasn't a whole lot of locations that they were shooting in. And it was just 3 people. There may have been like a delivery man or something here or there that showed up. It's just the mother and these 2 kids, and the crazy shit that happens through their interactions. But yeah, I mean, they could probably make this movie fairly quick. If they've already cast their main star, all they got to do is cast the twins, and they're on their way. So I could see us getting this movie within the next year, maybe around this time next year. I don't know. I look forward to seeing the trailer to kind of get a feel for the tone of the film and the direction they're going to go with it. Because I feel like the trailer is going to give me a much better idea as to what are they doing here. Is this going to be more of is it a remake or reboot, or is this like a retelling, you know? Because if they're going to remake it, just remake it and, you know, do it right. Change a couple little things to keep it a little fresh, but don't change too much. So, but I'm looking forward to this. Goodnight Mommy was a good one. It was an interesting film. And do I think that it's really needed? No, not really, because the original didn't have a lot of dialogue, so you could get by with either a solid dub or the subtitles. But I mean, I can think of worse movies they could be remaking into English language. So, but that's my take on it. What do you think? If you've seen Goodnight Mommy, do you think a remake is worth it? Do you think that it's something we really need? I don't know, but we're getting it either way. So this seems to just be the follow-up, sequel, remake, reboot week of news, because we've got another one, another long in the making sequel to a long storied fable, just highly regarded franchise in some ways. And I am talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife. You know that movie that was supposed to come out like a fucking year ago, and we still haven't gotten it, and I think it's going to be probably close to a year before we get it again. But we're not just talking about just Ghostbusters Afterlife. We're talking about Bill Murray, and how he has given Ghostbusters Afterlife his personal approval, which, coming from Bill Murray and knowing how cagey he's gotten in his later years, I think that's really saying something. Appearing virtually at the 36th Santa Barbara International Film Festival to accept the Malton Modern Master Award a few days ago via Collider, Murray spoke fondly about his experience working on the 2016 Ghostbusters, and then being lured back in once again by the wonderful idea that co-writer-director Jason Reitman had for Ghostbusters Afterlife. So that's he was speaking fondly about the 2016 one, or at least the working conditions for it. But here's him talking about the new version, Afterlife, with Jason Reitman, which, by the way, is the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original 2 films. I remember Jason calling me and saying, "I've got an idea for another Ghostbusters. I've had this idea for years," Murray recalled. I thought, what the heck could that possibly be? I remember him when he was a kid. I remember his bar mitzvah. I was like, what the heck? What does this kid know? But he had a really, really wonderful idea that he wrote with another wonderful guy that I got to work with, Gil Keenan, who made City of Ember. It's a movie that Bill Murray was in. I think it was like a YA novel. I remember seeing the movie. It was like maybe 10 years ago or so, something like that. The 2 of them wrote a Ghostbusters movie that really brings it back to life. It really has the feel of the first one more than the second one or the girls' one. It has a different feel than 2 out of 4. I think he's really got something, Murray continued, referencing Afterlife. It was hard. It was really hard. That's why I think it's going to be good. We were just in it for a little while, but it was physically painful. Wearing those packs is extremely uncomfortable. We had batteries the size of batteries. They now have batteries the size of earrings. It's still a really heavy thing to wear all the time. The special effects in this one are a lot of wind and dirt in your face, and there's a lot of going down and getting back up. I was like, what is this? What am I doing? These are like the Bulgarian deadlifts or Russian kettlebell, getting up and down with this thing on my back. It was very uncomfortable. Usually when something has a very high misery quotient, something comes of that and some quality is produced that. What? Something comes of that and some quality is produced that if you can capture it and project it, comes on the screen and affects you. I think it comes out sometime in the fall. They've delayed it for a year or a year and a half, but I'm glad they did. It'll be worth seeing. Ghostbusters Afterlife is currently slated to hit theaters November 11th, 2021, so this year. We're finally going to get it. At that point, I think it'll be well over a year that it was delayed, so this movie's just been sitting on the shelf somewhere. This movie is done, and it's just sitting there. It's supposed to come out, I'm pretty sure it was last summer. I'm pretty sure. It may have even been before then, and it was delayed to the summer. But it's definitely been done. It's just sitting there doing fuck all nothing. But that's Bill Murray, man. He's one of the original, Peter Venkman, one of the original Ghostbusters, giving his seal of approval to this new Ghostbusters film, at least what he experienced on it and what he saw. He feels like this is going to be something special, and it brings it back to the OG Ghostbusters. And I think people have been wanting that since the second one. Second Ghostbusters movie is okay. I mean, it's entertaining, but in a different way than the original Ghostbusters. It doesn't touch the original Ghostbusters film. And if this one can at least live up to the second one, I think it's really doing something. Now, as far as the 2016 Ghostbusters, that's a movie that I didn't review. I never reviewed on my channel because I wasn't doing YouTube at that point in time. I didn't love that movie. I didn't hate it. I mean, some people, it got a lot of controversy. People saying, because if you said that you didn't like it, oh, you're sexist and you're against women. If you said you liked it, oh, you're a social justice warrior or something. I don't know. I didn't like it because I thought it was boring. It wasn't really that funny. It had a couple of chuckle moments, but that's about it. I didn't care about the social justice stuff that was or was not in it. I didn't care that it was women instead of men. I didn't care about any of that shit. I watched it like I do any other movie. I sat down and watched what was presented in front of me, and I just didn't have a good time with it. It was just kind of boring. It didn't do it for me. That's me. I mean, if you loved it, good on you. But me, myself, I didn't care for it. I felt like it was a movie trying to be a Ghostbusters movie, and it has nothing to do with it being females. I give no fucks who was the main stars in these movies. Would I have liked to have seen the OG Ghostbusters come back and be the Ghostbusters? Sure. Not because I'm a woman-hating man or anything, but no, I wanted those characters because those are the characters I grew up with. Those are the characters that I knew. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen them come back. I understand why they didn't, and they were doing new characters in this world. Okay, fine. Cool. Make an interesting movie. I don't give a shit who you put in it. You didn't make an interesting movie to me. But that's my take on it. And it looks like, Murray, he kind of said, hey, yeah, I had a great experience working on the 2016 one. But then at the bottom, he even mentions this was much more in line with the spirit of the original more than the second one, and as he put it, the girls one. I'm surprised he hadn't caught some shit for that, but I'm happy to see that it's in line with that. The trailer for this that I watched over a year ago now, I think, where it's like the kids, and they're in the Ecto one, and it looks like they're out in the country, I guess. And we just recently got not a trailer, but a short clip of Paul Rudd at a store with the baby Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, those were really cute. They were like Baby Yoda and Baby Sonic level kind of cute. So I think we're going to see those in stores in no time. But I'm excited for this. It looks like it could be fun. It could end up being total shit. I don't know. It is neat to hear that all the surviving members of the Ghostbusters will be showing back up as themselves and apparently donning the proton packs. They will be, getting into action. Whether how much, he even says we weren't there for real long. So it's probably going to be cameos. But you know what? A cameo of the OG Ghostbusters with those protein packs on doing their thing even for a few minutes, that will be the moment in the movie where everybody loses their fucking mind. So I'm down for that. The fact that they were able to wrangle all these people back up, Bill Murray especially, especially later on in life, he doesn't need to work. So he only does things that he wants to do. So I think him agreeing to come back to this movie actually says something a lot about it. So I'm interested in seeing this thing, especially after Bill Murray coming out and saying, yeah, I approve. I approve of this message, So I think that this could be a fun flick. Once again, could come out on November 11th, 2021 this year and be an absolute fucking dumpster fire, but it could be awesome. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. One thing you can bet on, if it is awesome and it just does gangbusters and everybody is just like, Ghostbusters Afterlife is fucking amazing, it's wonderful, that means we're going to get another one after that. They're going to push another one out real quick now, and I would be hard-pressed to think if that one would be any good, because that one will be made out of the necessity of money. This one, it seems, was made from passion. You had Jason Reitman, whose father made all these movies. He was there on the set as a kid, just watching these movies be made. He has an investment in it, a personal investment, and a love of this franchise. And that, I'm hoping, is what's going to bleed through to this movie on November 11th, 2021. I am looking forward to seeing it. Murray's approval definitely has me hyped, and I can't wait to see more from this thing, and I will let you guys know what I think of it when it finally comes out once again on November 11th, 2021. Now, as I said, guys, this is the week of the follow-up, the sequel, the reboot, and this story is no different. We're talking about another spin-off this time, I guess, but this one's not quite as happy a story, and as it develops even further today, it seems like this story is just getting a little bit worse and worse as it goes on. It started off as kind of like, okay, that's not a big deal, and it seems like it's just kind of, depending on what you think of this, is just getting worse and worse. And I am talking about Sly Stallone's Rocky, but not just Rocky, but actually, technically, we're talking about Creed 3, which has now been announced. And a little bit of news there that this Rocky spinoff ain't got no Rocky. According to THR, Sylvester Stallone will not be appearing in Creed 3 as Rocky Balboa. While it's still unclear what the storyline for the new film might be, it seems as if the role of Rocky as Adonis' de facto father figure boxing coach isn't going to be necessary in the sequel. At the end of Creed 2, it was revealed that Rocky connected with his estranged son and found a new life that didn't need to revolve around boxing or his legacy. At the time, Stallone talked about how that was going to be the final time he appeared as Rocky in a film. Okay. However, when Creed 3 was announced, fans assumed there would be some role for Stallone in the feature, but apparently that is not the case. Creed 3 once again stars Michael B. Jordan, Tessa Thompson, and Felicia Rashad. Jordan is not only going to star in the film, but he'll also make his directorial debut with the highly anticipated sequel. In related news, Stallone announced months ago the actor-filmmaker was also working on a brand new cut of Rocky IV, which, according to a new Instagram post, he has finally finished. Creed 3 has a release date set for November 23rd, 2022. This story goes further than this as well, by the way, but let's just take this in real quick. First of all, before we even talk about any of the Rocky stuff, or any of the Creed stuff, rather, a new cut of Rocky IV? For real? When are we getting the Stallone cut? Release the Stallone cut of Rocky IV, please. I want to see that. This is the first I'd heard of it. Who doesn't want that? I mean, how many different ways can Dolph Lundgren say, "I will break you"? I want that in my life. I want to see what else is going on with that. But that's probably the happiest or the best stuff we can take away from this, because the story gets worse. When first reading this, I thought, well, I mean, he did say he wasn't coming back. He said that, his story arc was completed, etc., etc. But then, I think that was under the guise of there's not going to be a Creed 3. But then when they decided, hey, we're going to make Creed 3, I think people would have been okay with him not being as big a role in the third Creed as he had been, but I think people would expect him to at least make a cameo or something, or show up somewhat. But it seems like he's just not in it at all. He's been KO'd out, this bitch. And one wonders, was that him, or was that the rest of the production? Did he get booted out? Was he not invited back? I mean, how do you not invite Rocky back to a Rocky spinoff? I find that hard to believe. Well, it would seem, and once again, no names have been thrown out, nobody's been pointed to, but apparently Sylvester Stallone, as of today, on the 13th of April, or maybe it was yesterday, the 12th, honestly, some things have been coming out, and people are trying to, that wonderful thing that they do nowadays, trying to cancel Sylvester Stallone for, quite honestly, a dumbass fucking reason, which is the case many times. Not always, but many times. In this case, it definitely is. I don't care what anyone says. He's being canceled for playing golf. Now, granted, people aren't going to say that's why. He's being canceled because people are assuming shit. That's why, which is the reason why a lot of people get canceled sometimes. Once again, not all, but a lot of people are canceled in cancel culture nowadays because people are assuming what someone feels, thinks, and believes. Apparently, once again, I don't have the story right in front of me, but where he lives, where Stallone lives, or where he has one of his houses, I'm sure he has multiples, there's a golf course nearby, and Stallone apparently likes to play golf. And I guess former President Trump also has a house near there, or he lives in that area. I don't know, but he put on a golf tournament at this really nice golf course that's in that area. Previous President Trump did, and I guess Stallone signed up for this tournament. I mean, a whole lot of people apparently did, I guess, but Stallone was, golf lover. Hey, there's a golf tournament going on in my area. I'm rich, bitch. I like to play golf. I'm going to go play golf over here. And he went and he signed up for it. I assume he played in it. I don't know if he just signed up for it. And people lost their fucking minds. How could he? How dare he sign up for Trump's golf game thing? Which I don't know if it's Trump's specifically or if he's just involved in it. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have the whole story in front of me. But the guy went to play fucking golf. I mean, come the fuck on. Just because he went to play golf doesn't mean, and people are like, he's a Trump supporter. Okay, a couple of things to digest here. First of all, the guy went to play fucking golf. That's what he did. He said, I love golf. I want to go play fucking golf. This is the golf course near my house. I really like playing there. There's a tournament going on. I'm going to play fucking golf. Okay, so what? Was it Nazi golf? I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word. I'm probably not supposed to. I mean, that's how people are making it sound. I mean, come on, man. He went to play fucking golf. Who cares who was putting it on? And it was just a golf game. And people are making it sound like, oh, he's a Trump supporter because he's going to play golf at this golf thing. That doesn't mean anything. If it does, though, so what? Who cares who the guy voted for? That's his right. That's his right to vote for someone and not be persecuted for it. That's like anybody. I mean, no one should be persecuted for who they voted for, who they believed in. I mean, if you're going out and hurting people and asking for bad things to happen to people and trying to be like, just hurtful towards people, yeah, that's something bad. You shouldn't be doing that. But because of the political candidate someone chose, or a religious belief someone has, or just that, it's a belief. Someone has a belief that's not hurting anyone. That doesn't mean that they agree with every single thing that person says, or single thing. I know tons of people that are, go both ways on this whole religion or political debate on the different parties and all that. And most of them, if not all of them, do not 100% agree with either side totally. I mean, I have some friends that align with this side and some friends that align more with this side. They have more in common with each side, but none of my friends that are on either side can say, yes, I 100% agree with every single thing this party that I affiliate myself with believes. No, they're all like, I mean, I believe, I'm more in line with that, but there's, I don't like all of it. And the same, like with religion, it's the same thing. There's tons of people that are like, I'm religious and this is my religion. There's some things that are, I'm not totally on board with, I don't agree totally 100% with everything. Things are not that black and white. The guy wanted to play fucking golf. And I think there's been some reports that he had spoken to Trump before in the past. Okay, lots of people have spoken to him. I mean, I was watching a movie the other fucking day. The Little Rascals came on while I was editing a video. One of my kids would watch it, and I just totally forgot. I'm sitting there, I look up, and Donald Trump's in the stands of that thing. He's like a cameo, and lots of cameos in that movie, and he's in it. Lots of people are talking to him. Do all those people need to be canceled now because they fucking talked to Donald Trump one day on the fucking Little Rascals movie? No, they were doing a thing. He wants to go play fucking golf, okay? Just let the guy play fucking golf. That doesn't mean he's a terrible person. He's still the same person he was when everybody loved him in Creed 1, Creed 2, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky fucking 4, and, there's Rocky 5 too, and Rocky Balboa. He is still the same Sly Stallone he was then. But now all of a sudden, because somebody or some people decided that, he's not worthy anymore. He's bad. He's going to play fucking golf at the wrong place. Now he's a terrible fucking person. He needs to be canceled. Fuck you. This guy's been in the fucking industry. He's been making movies for longer than a lot of you motherfuckers have been alive. And you're going to come up and say that, no, because you went and played fucking golf at some place with some guy, or not even with just that guy, but in a tournament that guy was at, you need to be fucking canceled? Fuck off. Come on, man. That's fucking stupid. Get the fuck over yourselves. I think Sly's going to be okay, though. He's going to make it. I mean, this guy, he's been in this industry for so long. I mean, I don't know. I say that he's going to be all right. He ain't going to let something like that take him down. But we've seen mighty people. I mean, not mighty people, but we've seen big people fall due to this stuff. But that's sad, though. I mean, the guy, Jesus Christ. I know I've said it a bunch of times already, but goddamn, the guy went to play fucking golf. Come on. He didn't, announce his allegiance to the fucking evil overlords or anything. Jesus Christ, he went to play fucking golf. But anyway, yeah, he's not. And once again, I don't know if that's why he's not going to be in Creed 3. I know we kind of went on a rant there, but some people are assuming, or some people are putting out there, it's kind of hard to read between the lines and all the different stories, that this is one of the reasons is because of behavior like this is why he's not going to be in Creed 3. I don't know. Is he, or maybe he just didn't have a part in it. Maybe he had said, hey, I'm not coming back. And maybe it was him. Maybe he said, no, they, we did talk. I'm just not coming back. I was done, character arc's done. I don't need to come back. I don't know. It just seems weird. I just figured that since, they had a Creed 3, they would at least have like a cameo or something. Maybe a phone call. He's like, oh, yeah, you do this, okay? Adonis, it's going to be okay. He'd have like at least a little cameo or something in there, or be involved somewhat. I mean, this is his baby. He started it. And he it's a Rocky spinoff without Rocky. It's just kind of weird. I know it's Adonis's story, but it just seems weird without him there. I don't know, but maybe once again, none of this is confirmed. The whole golf thing might have nothing to do with it, but it is being interwoven into it in the stories that are popping up as of right now. But it's all unsubstantiated. We don't know any actual facts. I want to make that clear. Everything I'm saying here, beyond the fact that Sylvester Stallone will not be in Creed 3, that's all we know. And that Michael B. Jordan is directing Creed 3. Beyond that, nothing that I've said here is factual. It's just all hearsay. I mean, we don't know why he's not going to be there, if it was his choice, if it was their choice, if this whole golf thing had anything to do with it. I just know a lot of people are saying that the golf thing has a lot to do with it. But who knows? I don't know. It all seems like it lined up pretty, these movie deals are usually made way in advance. So it does, the timeline doesn't totally line up with me. Who knows? But either way, what do you think of this? What do you think of Creed 3? Do we need a Creed 3? And are you looking forward to a Creed 3 without Sylvester Stallone? Me, myself, personally, I'm interested to see how Michael B. Jordan does. I really like Michael B. Jordan. I think he's really good in everything. I don't think I've seen the guy bad in anything. Even that Fantastic Four movie that he was in, he was good. I mean, he was, he did his best, But I'm really interested in seeing, because he's been an actor. He's been a really good actor. He's acted in some really great films and done a great job. So now taking that, you sometimes will see really great actors become fantastic directors because they know how to direct other actors. So, I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm more interested in seeing Creed 3 than I was Creed 2, honestly. I really liked Creed 1, but Creed 2 I was kind of like, more of a nostalgic throwback, almost a sequel to Rocky 4 more, but I am really interested to see how he does with this. I think the guy, he's got the talent. He's been in the industry long enough, so he probably knows what he's doing. I would have liked to have seen Stallone just kind of, he's just kind of part of it all, but, if he's not there, he's not there. I hope, seeing as how he's not there, I hope the reason he's not there is because the story did not call for him to be there. I hope the reason he's not there is because he said, my arc is complete. I leave it in your hands. If that's the case, great. I hope he just wasn't written out or they didn't invite him back because of some stupid shit like that. But like I said, the timelines don't totally line up because this all just happened. So, I don't know. These movie deals are made way in advance. Yeah, you never know. But either way, what do you think? Creed 3 is on the way. Michael B. Jordan's directing. Sylvester Stallone's not there. And he's apparently off playing golf. Me, myself, personally, I think it's all been blown out of proportion. Looking forward to Creed 3. Wondering if it'll be good. Looking forward to seeing Sly Stallone and his next thing. Maybe it'll be a golf biopic. Now, coming off of that pretty heavy story, and I know things went a little bit deeper down that rabbit hole than I had planned, but coming off of that onto something a bit lighter, but still about muscle-bound, sweaty men in a ring just moving around all over the place. No, I'm not talking about wrestling. I'm not talking about boxing, and I'm not talking about Creed 4 that's been announced. No, none of that. I'm talking about something a little bit sexier. And ladies, you guys want to pay attention to this one. This is the last story of the evening, but we're going out with a bang. And I do mean a bang because we're talking about the real life. Magic Mike is coming. Ladies, I know you've been looking forward to this all your lives. HBO Max sent out a press release announcing the order of the real Magic Mike, an unscripted competition series from Eureka Productions and Warner Brothers Unscripted Television in association with Warner Horizon. On the real Magic Mike, HBO Max says 10 men will bare their souls and more as they evolve their bodies, learn to perform spectacular routines, and develop a new level of self-confidence. Not only will they strip themselves of their clothes, but also their emotional baggage as they try to get their mojo back and become the one, only real Magic Mike. The title also comes with a cash prize and an opportunity to perform on the Magic Mike live stage in Las Vegas. A nationwide casting search for the contestants is currently underway. So yeah, of course, as soon as I come to Nashville, I will be going and submitting my resume for the real life Magic Mike. Just putting that out there now. Absolutely. Sarah Aubrey, head of the original content at HBO Max, said in a statement, from box office hits to sold-out live shows, Magic Mike has proven to be a pop culture juggernaut that continues to delight people across the globe. We're excited to work with Channing, Steven, and the team behind Magic Mike live to continue the successful franchise that celebrates self-confidence, the sexiness both inside and outside. Mike Darnell, president of Warner Brothers Unscripted Television, added, Magic Mike is one of Warner Brothers' most iconic franchises. We couldn't be more excited to be working with Channing, Steven, and HBO Max on an all-new vision of this amazing and legendary brand. We're looking forward to giving fans a front-row seat as we search the country for undiscovered talent. So pretty much they just said the exact same fucking thing, I'm just saying. But anyway, the real Magic Mike doesn't have a specific release date yet, but it's expected to arrive on HBO Max later this year, ladies. So, yeah. Real life Magic Mike is on the way. Okay. I'm honestly surprised it took this long. This is. I wouldn't be surprised if there's already been a show similar to this, but just without the Magic Mike name attached to it. This is gonna do well. People, women mostly, and I mean not just women, I guess men too. That or people that are into the male physique are going to turn out for this for sure. Especially if Channing Tatum is a maybe involved as far as maybe an announcer or a host or something. I don't know if he'll be the full-on host of it, but a show about male strippers learning to get their mojo back and bearing it all, physically and emotionally. This is gonna do really well. This is gonna be a big show. This is gonna be a popular one for sure. It has absolutely fuck all nothing to do with Magic Mike the movie or the second one. What was it called? Magic Mike XXL or something like that. I have seen both, by the way, and honestly, upon watching Magic Mike, the first one, I didn't think it was just the greatest movie ever made, but just from a story perspective, it was better than I expected it to be. Really, I remember watching it and thinking that wasn't what I expected, and it was actually. I mean, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I mean, it was okay. I mean, I was like, wow, that was more entertaining than I expected it to be. The second one was, I don't really remember much about it. I feel like it was kind of throwaway, if I remember correctly. But once again, none of that matters because this has nothing to do with it except it's about strippers. I mean, this is a very primal, basic show that is going to do fucking gangbusters. That I assume they're going to put on HBO Max and entice soccer moms across the country to come tune into late night after the kids are asleep. And it'll work. This is like I said. I can't believe it took this long. I'm pretty sure Magic Mike came out in 2014. It's been quite a while. This movie came out quite a while back, and maybe even longer than that. But it's an older, well, not old, but it's not a new film. I'm really surprised they haven't done something like this already. And I mean, what else can you say about it? I mean, it's a TV show about male strippers. People finna turn out. People finna watch it. Okay, I'm probably going to be forced to watch it with my wife. My wife will definitely want to watch this, and I will at some point in time have to view this show. And quite honestly, it could be entertaining. I mean, that's not my thing, but if they do it right, it could be entertaining beyond just, eye candy. I mean, look at something like RuPaul's Drag Race. Once again, not my thing, but that show's fun as hell. That is a hilariously just great, just funny as hell show. I love that show. My oldest daughter watches it, and whenever she puts it on, I kind of walk through the room, and I always get entangled in what's going on and just kind of can't stop watching it. This, if they go that route, if they go that larger than life, which let's be real, male strippers, that is a larger than life kind of situation. If they go that route with it and play it up and play it real big like that, it could be entertaining as hell. If they just play it up real big, if they make Matthew McConaughey's character in the movie, if they treat things like his character did, if they got people doing that kind of stuff, this could definitely be a fun as hell show. Regardless if that's your forte, if that's your thing, if you're interested in that, what they're going to have on display or not, it can still be entertaining and funny as hell. So, but I mean, we'll see. While we don't have an exact date, it is a TV show and it's a reality show, so they're going to film it and cut it pretty damn quick, and they're saying that it will be out later this year. And I saw this and I said I've got to talk about that. There's not really much to say. It's in the name, but I gotta talk about it. I mean, how has this not already happened? But whether it's happened or not, it's happening now this year. So later on this year, if you were ever interested in seeing the nitty-gritty details of Magic Mike and what happens in that stripper universe, you're going to get it. You're going to get it on full display, the full Monty, later this year. So Hey, let me know in the comments below, ladies. Are you looking forward to Magic Mike Triple XL now? I guess it will be, or whatever they're going to call the real Magic Mike. I'm sure. I'm sure plenty of you are. And good for you. I'm happy you are. Like I said, I'll end up having to watch at least some of this show, and I will at least, maybe not review wise, I'll at least give my report on it at some point on the podcast. I'll say, hey, yeah, caught that show. It was this. But yep, later this year it's coming. Magic Mike the Show. Get ready, ladies. All right, guys, so that will do it for the news this week. Had some pretty interesting, fun stories. I know a couple of them we delved a little bit deeper on. I got a couple of more things to look at here. Not included here on the podcast, but check out my channel where I did recently do a review for episode 4 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. As I said, this is the first time I've ever reviewed a TV show. It's kind of a open form, kind of like that. I do it in this setting. It's a long form. I just talk about my thoughts on the show. There are some spoilers included, and just talk about where I think the show's going, where it's been, where it is, and what I thought of it, and if it's worth checking out. So yeah, check that out. I've got episode 1 through 4 at this point, and episode 5 is coming this Friday, and I'll be doing it there as well. But yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's a show. It's got some pluses and some minuses and some stuff in between, but I can't really make a judgment as of yet. But check out my review to see what I thought of it. Now, beyond that, we have this week's releases per usual, and coming April 13th, which is actually today, we have a little movie. I'm not familiar with either of these, by the way, but we have a film called Virus Shark. I'm wondering if that's something in the Sharknado wheelhouse of films, and The Penthouse, which I know it springs to mind when I think of that, but I don't know what it's about. I haven't heard of these two films as of yet, so if you're aware of those, they are coming out as if you're watching this, or listening to this, they're available now. Friday the 16th, which is later this week, we have In the Earth, Monday, Vanquish, Jacob's Wife, Gunda, and We Broke Up. And quite honestly, man, I have not heard of any of these movies. And I think a big reason why is because up until last week, I believe it was, within the past week and a half, Mortal Kombat was actually supposed to come out today. So I think most movies kind of moved out of the way. These are all going to be smaller films that wouldn't be affected by Mortal Kombat's release either way. So I think that's why we don't really have anything else anybody's really ever heard of. No offense to these films. Smaller films don't necessarily mean they're bad. I just personally have not heard about these films. And I hear about a lot of smaller films, but there's a lot of small films out there. So definitely look into these films at least. I once again, I just am not familiar with them. Jacob's Wife. I'm familiar with My Wife, but I don't know what that movie's about. I kind of want to check that one out just because, it's got my name in it. But anyway, but yeah, I think everybody was trying to move out of the way of Mortal Kombat, which does lead me to wonder what comes out next week, because Mortal Kombat is actually coming out, here in the States at least, next week now. Instead got pushed out. I wonder if there's some other movie there that is just kind of like, oh shit, why you moved. So, but yeah, that's what's coming out this week. If you're interested in any of these, check them out. If you like them, or if you see any of these films or already have, let me know in the comments what you thought of them, if any of them are worth me checking out. So guys, that is it. Thank you very much for hanging out all this time with me on the JARcast Movie Podcast, episode 13, lucky number 13. Coming up this week, I have some upcoming reviews of The Inheritance, No Fear, also the my Mortal Kombat 2021 reboot review will be not this week, but next week. I wanted to throw that in there because it's supposed to be this week, but it will actually be next week. I'm also working on my new series to replace my video game movie review series, which is going to be a comic book movie review series, which is going to take a really long time. There's like 200-something movies on that list as of right now, like 280, I think it is. And so that's going to take up quite a few, probably well over a year, such as my video game movie review list did. I do have a couple of more videos. I know I've been promising them for the past few weeks, but I am actually working on them now for sure. Video game movie review ranking videos and just kind of some end of the series videos I will be putting out. There's going to be 3 of them that hopefully will start coming out later this week and for the next couple of weeks before the comic book movie review series starts in stride. But beyond that, tomorrow night on Retro Wednesday, as every Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock Pacific Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, I go live streaming here on YouTube on my channel, Jacob Anders Reviews, and this week I will be streaming a little game called Simulacra. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's a cell phone horror game, apparently. It was suggested to me. I'm going to check it out on the stream. I do like me some full motion video games, and apparently there is some full motion video in this. Kind of a reality type of game, I guess. We'll find out. That will also go up after the live stream as an actual video, so if you're interested in seeing some of that gameplay in that session, check that out. You can check this podcast out every Tuesday evening at the same time, 7 Pacific Time, 10 Eastern Time, PM. It premieres at that time every week. You can come hang out in the chat and talk to everybody else about what it is I'm talking about. I will be there as well. And the show goes onto all major audio podcasting platforms as well within a couple of days of that. So come check it out. Whichever way you want to check it out, you have options. You can check it out here on the channel. You can check it out on audio podcasting platforms. If you happen to be on a platform that my podcast is not on and you want it there, send me a message and I will be more than happy to have it posted on there. I can put it on pretty much any one of them I want. I think it's on all the major ones right now. Just search for Jacob Anders Reviews or JARcast Movie Podcast. Any of those things or combinations thereof will get you in. But as I said, I had a great time tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoy the show as a whole, and I hope you come back and check it out next week, and I will see you guys then. And as always, stay sexy.